Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Off the Rack. I'm Sal.
And I'm Tiffany.
So today we're going to be talking about a bunch of books that came out the past week, recap them, review them, tell you what we thought about them, and then recommend comics that are coming out this week that we think you should check out. Also, we have a book of the week. We're to select our favorite book of the week. Each of us is going to have our own, so don't worry. If you had your own book of the week and you hoped it aligned with one of our interests, there's always another chance. Of course, if you are watching this show live, you can sponsor today's show by using Super Chats. Ask a question or comment, read here on the show. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and click the bell for notifications so you can know when this show goes live, which is, of course, on Mondays around 6:30 Eastern Standard Time, PM, that is. I just got my notification, which is why I got an unprofessional notification on my phone, and that was just letting me know that the show is officially live, happening right now. Of course, we're going to get to the Super Chats at the end of the show. That way everybody gets a chance, and we get appropriate time just kind of dedicate to your questions and comments. But yeah, we also talk about the news that's coming out in the comic book world today. I don't have a lot. Okay. Honestly, there's not a lot. So I figured we'd just jump into the comics. The last episode, we had a lot of different stuff going on. So I thought, you know what, let's just stick to the comics, ladies and gentlemen. So let's jump into it, shall we?
Yes.
I read Captain America number 15 from Babylon 5, creator J. Michael Straczynski, with art by Jesus Saiz. This is essentially a secret Thor book, for all intents and purposes. JMS wrote the Thor series for a while to much success and acclaim. Invented Broxton, Oklahoma as a set piece for Thor, and was a little dissatisfied with how it all turned out. So I guess he's here to retcon it using his Captain America book. Also, Spider-Man sells books, so Spider-Man's in it as well. His characterization of Spider-Man is antithetical to what we've known Babylon 5 creator JMS to have for Spider-Man. Okay. And I think it's a direct response to what Marvel did with his run and with his character. When he exited the title, it's just apparent that he's like, I'm having fun and I'm fixing my Thor book, but I'm also going to make Peter, if you think, Marvel, that Peter's an asshole clown, then that's what he is, okay? This is what he's left with at the end of my run. This is what you left him with. Literally nothing. And so he's here too. He's a set piece, but a fantastic cover. So yeah, they go to Broxton. They find out that like there's an opportunity we can retcon Broxton's destruction. There's a little like interplay with like photos and Google Maps Street View and selected moments in time. And of course, there's going to be a huge sacrifice. It's not enough to just have, Broxton basically rolled back to where it was before it was destroyed. Right. We have to have a sacrifice. And one of the big sad sacrifices we had was Bill, one of the like regulars of the town of Broxton that Thor befriended, who fell in love with a Asgardian woman. And he is kind of like the living tether that needs to be sacrificed in order to have Broxton come back to life. Like, it's whatever, it's fine. Like, it is a Thor book. This is a secret Thor book. Captain America is weird and kind of like oddly characterized. Like, he has no patience for Peter. He's kind of like,
maybe he's JMS.
I mean, definitely he's a stand-in. Like, he's kind of there going like, this is gross, this is stupid, and you're an asshole. And it's like, okay, fair enough. It's well written, and the characters are there doing their thing. This is one of those things where like we're in a weird place in comics, particularly big two comics, which is like either we're fixing what was broken or we're breaking things to build new things. Okay. It is not unlike an allegory I heard recently of the way in which SNL is written today versus like 30 years ago, and how like SNL was very character focused 30 years ago. And so as a result, the sketches were written around the character. And so the characters could pretty much do anything. Like it didn't matter. The work was kind of put on the actor / performer to be funny. Whereas all the sketches now are like situational based and they're very like kind of meta. And so as a result, like when a character runs out their welcome 30 years ago, you knew it. And then you moved on to a new character, or you just stopped writing about that character, or you gave them a movie and then move on. In this case, if the sketch doesn't work, it works it doesn't work from the jump and fails for 8 minutes. And you're and if that happens, like if all the writing staff has like an off night doing this like weird, like wrong school of improv, you have yourself like a crappy season.
Right.
And so like that's where we are kind of in comics, where it's like, not that like it's bad now, but there's a new school of thinking when it comes to writing these books. And every once in a while, like an older style writer like JMD or JMS or other people with combinations of J's in their letters come on the scene and write a book, and then people are like, whoa, all this stuff happened in this book, like all these things.
Yeah.
And we still got character and settings and supporting it. How is that possible? And it's like, because we don't do that anymore.
Right.
And of course, that is very like dangerous to say, because we're on the precipice of saying things like comics aren't like they were, and so therefore they're bad. It's like, no. That's not what I'm saying. They are different.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to big two comics, like Scott Snyder, who was on Elseworlds Exchange with me a few days ago, and in fact, you can check out that episode and all the shows we make here on this channel. So subscribe and make sure you see more. But he was talking about how like it's very creator focused today. Like the world of comics, or at least in big two comics, is very creator driven today, which is something to say because it used to be creator driven, like in the 2000s. And then editorials like, whoa, slow your roll. We own these characters. I don't want any more like dynasties or, character or creator driven kind of like houses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want like Bendis to show up, bring a bunch of creators in, and then just wreck the house.
Right.
Dictate where it's going. Editorial dictates where it's going. The publisher dictates where it's going. If a Spider-Man movie is coming out, it needs to align. We got to figure this out. I can't be in the middle of something. I can't have Siege happening, but also have an Avengers movie. It would just not work. But I'm seeing that, like with Ultimates and with Absolute,
mm-hmm.
The readership doesn't know what to do. Like they're just like, oh my god, I've never seen anything like this before.
Right?
It's like, yeah, because you were born in like 2007, which is cool. Like and it's nice. But this is one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, Cap is weird. It's just JMS fixing things.
Sure.
To what end, I don't know. It's not like he's going to get another run. This book is not well received.
Really?
Yeah, people do not like this book.
Like at all? Like even people who...
I mean, like I haven't... The thing is, I've either heard negative criticism or zero criticism of this book.
Okay.
Which, of course, means that it might be one of the best-selling books of the month, because that's what Spider-Man is.
But does it have to do with the fact that it's Cap, or does it have to do...
I mean, Cap does not sell books on his own. It has to have like a hook.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say hook, I mean it doesn't have to be that he's evil or a Nazi. It just has to be that like the creative team is celebrated, like a Wade Somney or a Brubaker or all these different.
Is Captain America a place to put like celebrated creators out to pasture?
I don't know. JMD hasn't done a Captain America run. I haven't seen DeMatteis.
I was just wondering.
I don't know what the hell he'd do with him.
You just mentioned a whole lot of creators who've been around for a minute.
Yeah, I haven't seen Bendis's Cap is also. I've never seen a Bendis run on Cap, and Bendis is off of DC. Hey, change things up.
I don't know if he's. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know if he's welcome around.
Oh, I doubt it. Well, that's the thing, right? Well, just what I just finished talking about. Like, yeah, I'm sure that Brevoort's like, yeah, fool me once, shame on you. No way am I letting you come back here and then set up shop again.
Yeah, that could
because there's no way Bendis could just show up and be like, I just want to do this one book and then just like
right.
my check. No, he'd do 6 books and they would all connect and they would all dictate the line and then he'd do an event because nobody wants to write them anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't want to spend this much time.
No, that's fine. I did note, like, for some reason while we were looking at that comic, and I'm sure we've mentioned this in the past, but I was looking at the cover there, it just struck me. I was just like, I wonder what the ratio of like colors used for costumes there are for like
red, white, and blue.
Just for Marvel or DC characters. Like, how many like characters have like a certain percentage of red or blue or like yellow in their costumes, right? Because it's like I don't know, like
this is pretty.
This is very like
damning.
themed, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I was like, but they're not like, obviously they're not chosen for that reason. But I just thought that was interesting. I was like, obviously red is a very like prolific color, I think, in hero costumes.
Absolutely.
Blue.
Yep, red, blue.
But I'm like wondering, I'm like, what is the percentage?
And typically green and purple are reserved for either Hulks or bad guys. So it's like,
Yeah, I feel like someone probably has a chart out there. Someone who has a lot of time.
I wonder if there is like a chart. That'd be interesting. I'd like to see that.
Of like these are the amount of heroes. And like it needs to be a significant amount, not just like a thing.
Here's 9. Like no.
Right. Like it can't just be like a little piece like of right.
No, it needs to be the primary colors are like the 2 biggest, most like noticeable colors are red / blue.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
But yeah, so it's fine. Like I won't jump on the bandwagon of hating it, but it's fine.
Will you keep reading it?
It's no skin off my back to read it.
Okay.
And I want to see where it goes, I guess.
Fair.
But it's like there, as it is with so many books. I'm like, I see what you're doing with this. I have a shameful secret that may align with your own. I didn't get a chance to read Batman Dark Ages or Dark Age.
Oh no.
I know, and I feel like such a heel because I really like this book, and it's the last issue of the series.
Okay, so we're gonna have to come back to that next week, along with the fact that like I also didn't read Helen of Windhorn, but only because
Helen of Windhorn?
Yeah, Helen of Windhorn. Only because I started reading it and I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember where this is coming from. So I went back an issue.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I didn't get a chance.
I didn't read this. Like, I don't remember if I missed it coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like I did, because like I opened up page like issue 5 and I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah, Gandalf.
I have no memory of this book. I followed my nose right into not wanting to rush it, because that's what it came down to.
Yeah, it's like, well, I could power through these.
I could power through the 6th issue, but like I really didn't want to. I really
the final issue.
And maybe that's like a secret thing my brain is doing, where it's just like, don't let it end. Don't let Helen go. Let Helen have another time to. I'll say it's my book of the week anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It'll just.
I didn't skip it,
but
I didn't skip it.
Yeah, but I will say,
I acknowledge my lack of having read the 5th issue, which I literally can't remember.
Right.
But I still say this is probably my book of the week anyway.
I mean, it would be normally. But yeah, well, we'll have to talk about it again when Helen Windhorn gets like a series or something.
Sure.
Like a show.
It better.
I don't know. Do you want that?
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
Only if they're able to try to approximate her artwork for it. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Come on.
So yeah, what else we got? Oh, you read
Ultimate X-Men number 9.
X-Men number 9.
Peach Momoko. Writing an art for this one. This is like a weird corner, I feel like, for some folks when it comes to the Ultimate Universe. Although not that I think that people think it's bad.
No, I just like, what?
Yeah. I do think out of all of like between the 3 main ones, not counting Ultimates, that like I think Black Panther usually is the one that people
skip or
like, oh wait, I
forget.
Yeah. But Ultimate X-Men is kind of hard to forget. It's just so drastically different.
Yes.
And it just kind of all started to fall into place for me. There's the question of like, but in like Black Panther, like Aurora like exists,
right?
Like,
she's a character. How
is this possible? Right. like how could that work?
Yeah.
And it's the indication here is that like this Children of the Atom group was experimenting. Obviously, Viper is part of this group, and that utilizing other actual mutants they've been like creating potentially.
Oh,
and that's what this issue at least indicated to me,
or
it implies it. And that to me like kind of goes like, oh, okay,
that's why this feels so different.
And not that all of them are,
no,
but there's like a mixture of them.
Okay.
Peach Momoko using a lot of modern day influences on how the mutants are being found out, and like obviously like social media plays a big part of it. Like like a video of armor shows up, and like, oh no, like someone like there's like a suitcase full of body parts that is found, right? And that like it's wildfire to like the internet or like social media, and then like through social media students realize, oh my gosh, it's real, and that means like Children of Atom are bad, and so like they all start like treating anyone who might have powers as bad, right? And I'm like, I'm like, we're watching like Peach like go through a lot of like the traditional hallmarks of X-Men, like being hated and feared, and
showcasing through today's world how possible that is.
Yeah, but also not following just the straight path of what X-Men is. Right. So I'm like, it's really coming together for me. I don't know how anyone else feels about this, but like for me, I'm like starting to see like the shape.
You getting your Kronk moment?
Yeah, it's all coming together. For sure. But it was also that like I know we've kind of talked about this, but like obviously Kageyama, the guy who's been kind of had originally started like stalking Armor Misako at the beginning of this, in the summary page, Peach makes sure to put in parentheses like Shadow King, and I'm like, oh yeah, duh.
She's like, by the way, if you haven't caught it yet.
Well, I should have known that, right? Because Kage means shadow, and that I know. And Yama, I attribute with like mountain, but like obviously depending on, I'm sure, whatever character would indicate. So
yes,
I'm not gonna pretend like I'm educated in terms of Japanese linguistics, but I do know that Kage is shadow. So like
I should have put that together.
But in this issue in particular, we are treated to what I like to call like, listen, Peach Momoko, she is like she's a beautiful artist, right? Like
Yeah.
she has like, inside and out as a human being. But I mean, like literally her art is beautiful. And it has this like effortlessness.
Yes.
Obviously, mangaka are famously known for their speed with which they have to produce pages and issues of their manga. But like her work often just has this like simplistic beauty to it where it's it looks like, oh yeah, just whatever, just this thing, but like it's really well thought out. And there are panels that are stronger than others, as with any artist, but like it always makes me think back to the mangaka, right? But like in this, we get to see a bit of Peach's horror work, or like a scarier work, right? In which Kageyama is in the hospital, and there's someone next to him, and he hears like thoughts.
Okay.
And when he pulls back the curtain, we're greeted with like this horrible image, right? Which immediately evokes Weapon X.
Oh, absolutely. You got colorful wires, big hair, the strapping of the table. That's absolutely a Barry Windsor Smith kind of homage.
Right, except this is Akihiro.
Oh.
Which I was like,
well, probably because it's like, well, I'm not using there's going to be an Ultimate X or Wolverine.
Yeah. But the idea is that like this is like the first mutant.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Peach is establishing. This is the first mutant who like gave everything.
Which is a reference, by the way, to the original Ultimate Universe, in which Bendis reveals that Wolverine was the original first mutant when they were engineered in a lab as well.
There you go. I love it. But like that, he gave his blood, his power, everything to the Children of the Atom. So it's just like this is kind of where things began. And I was like, I'm really enjoying where this is going.
Yeah.
But also, he wants Kageyama to end it for him. He's like,
sure,
put me out of my misery.
Right.
Which is like it's just really like this, like I don't know, this like some of these like, panels, they're grotesque and they're amazing.
Yeah. My question to you is, do you think, and this is why we should like get her on the show, but we need an interpreter to do it. She is a mangaka artist. Do you think she powers through this entire series, or do you think she's like, now that I have to work within the structure of Western comics, she gets to take her time?
Well, don't forget there's the added layer of she's coloring every page as well, where it like often, manga pages are not.
Yeah.
So there is that additional element to it. So like I would say she probably is more on time.
Oh yeah.
Although I'm sure the translation element is a little different, the flow for that. Because I don't imagine she's writing these in English.
Well, no, but she's also doing it all
right. But you want to make sure that it is correct. You want to make sure that regardless of if it's not a 1-for-1 word, that it's like the
contextually correct.
Or like the right essence of what she wants to say. So I don't know. I would actually love to know what her process is.
Does it read left to right?
No. Oh yes, I'm sorry.
Does it read Western style?
I heard you say, does it read right to left? I don't know why.
Yeah.
But that's what I heard.
Interesting. Yes, so she had to change everything.
Like or she might have someone else helping out with that.
That could be.
But I love this book. By the way, I actually don't know if she did manga work beforehand. I
assume she would.
I didn't say that. I said her art style makes me think of that.
Yeah.
But like this panel in particular, like really struck me because it's just really like well done.
Yes.
And it just is an example for me of like the power of her work and her line art. Like she just has for me incredible line art. It's clearly done with a brush of some sort, and it's just stunning. Like I just love the form, like a simple shading here, but it's very effective.
Absolutely.
Like that's what it is. Her work is beautiful and effective for me.
Yeah.
And I absolutely, it's just always a joy. It's always a treat. But I feel like in the last couple of issues, like, things are starting to like come together.
Yeah.
Not that they weren't, but it's like, again, like, in the beginning, it was like, cool, what are we doing? This is all brand new. And then we were going through, and I'm like, I don't know where we're going yet. And I feel like maybe we're starting to get a little bit of footing. So, love this book. Literally can't wait for the next one. It's going to come out in December.
Next one. That's 10.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. I have no idea how long things
are going to run.
Yeah. But like, I'm just here to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And to, not try to anticipate it, because as we know, Peach wasn't really familiar with the X-Men.
No, That's right.
the
She's
lore
said
of
that, yeah.
X-Men just in general. And she wasn't trying to hide that.
Right.
But I think that's why she may have been tapped for this,
Mm-hmm.
because Hickman was like, I want something so
Something
different.
that's not even going to
So
be
it's like
close.
when we get little like nods to X-Men, I appreciate it. Like I'm sure she did like a little research on it, like wanted to get some background on it, but then was like, what would I do with it? So,
Right, exactly.
yeah, great book.
Nice. I read G.I. Joe #1
Oh,
from
did you?
Josh Williamson and Tom Riley.
Okay.
This is the beginning of everything, folks. Now, of course, that's a joke because the beginning of everything was like a year or two ago. I mean,
Right.
like we've had Transformers, we've had Duke, we've had Scarlet, we've had Cobra Command. Like we've had everything but G.I. Joe. Here they are. Real American hero. Josh Williamson, of course, loves this world, bleeds red, white, and blue. Grew up watching the cartoon, buying the toys, playing with them up into a few days ago. And he's been kind of spearheading the entire G.I. Joe line. Like he wrote the Duke book, he wrote the Cobra Commander book. He's been dictating what's happening with G.I. Joe, and so he's picking up the entire team. Here it all is. And from the jump, I was like, uh-oh. Because we're introduced to a bunch of characters that I was like, I don't even know. Like, because here's my secret shame about G.I. Joe. That's the theme of today's episode is shame. But I didn't like G.I. Joe as a kid. I watched some of it, but for the most part, I ignored it. I didn't like the idea of like the military.
Okay.
Like I liked the lone super. I was Spider-Man influenced. I liked the vigilante, the lone hero, the urban environment.
How does Ninja Turtles fit into that?
Well, they're urban vigilantes as well.
But they're not alone.
No, but they are individuals.
Okay.
Like they all represent a different aspect of a personality.
Okay.
But yeah, I was like, yeah, and I had a lot of friends who loved G.I. Joe and had all the toys, and I just couldn't be bothered. I was like, I'm buying Toy Biz figures. Like I'm so out. Also, just the overwhelming nature of G.I. Joe. There were so many characters, so many figures, so much lore, and I was like, I don't want to. I've got enough room in my heart and head for so many things. G.I. Joe is one of those things I don't need. And so I read this with an open mind, but with an understanding that like you're gonna have a hard sell here.
Yeah.
And it was an easy jump. You can easily jump into this. I read the Duke book, but like you don't really need the Duke book. But the Duke book obviously introduces you to the character and gives you like his whole backstory and kind of like represents who he is. And he's obviously the Captain America to the G.I. Joe Avengers team, more or less. And so it's like that works. And all these colorful cast of characters. Baroness is a member of the G.I. Joes. Because she's going to be a bad guy. Like, I know one day she's going to flip sides. It's like, that's kind of interesting. There's this element of like, I know because I know the law, so there's a lot of that in there. But obviously, Williamson knows what you expect and that there are not just 3 different G.I. Joe animated series to worry about, but also at least 2 or 3 different comic book series that play with this universe and this concept. So like, how do we differentiate? How do we set this up? Not just the fact that like, it's connected to Energon and Transformers and stuff like that, but also like, how do we introduce the universe at large to the G.I. Joe world without also stepping on toes and giving them something new and fresh? And so this like, they have the team. Duke's trying to get them to coalesce. He's like, I need them all to fight like me. They're all so individualistic, and so like that's obviously the point.
Yeah.
And inevitably, Cobra just invades like the G.I. Joe headquarters. They just go to his house and like, all right, kill everybody here, and they kill at least one Joe who we introduced. Which
is it someone with an utterly forgettable name?
Yeah. And I'm like, yep, that's fair. And I'm sure that he matters a lot. And that there are a couple of G.I. Joe fans, including Josh, who were just like gnashing their teeth and wringing their hands. But like, I'm sorry. I was like, any of these characters could die and it wouldn't affect me at all. And it happened. And, but it's fun and it's easily, it's an easy read. Tom Riley's art is great. Jordy Belair does the colors. If you remember, I believe Jordy Belair did the colors for Birds of Prey, and there's this action sequence. I'm like, oh my God, here it is again, where she's doing that thing where it's like the double layer, like everything looks a little blurry, which is like, I was like, that's a thing for Birds of Prey. And then I'm like, and you did it again in G.I. Joe. Now I'm starting to think it's just a thing you're excited to do.
Maybe someone saw that and was like, could you do
that again?
Yeah.
I mean, easily.
Because that can happen.
That wouldn't surprise me. It's not that way that the whole book, by the way. Only during like a sequence where the Joes are like flying out of the,
gotcha.
with jetpacks.
Obviously, I didn't read this.
No.
But this cover, I'm not loving it.
I don't like this cover
but there is
one bit.
There is a hidden Transformers logo.
There is.
It's not really that hidden. It's right there.
Oh, look at that. Well, yeah, they're on top of it. Like it's almost like the Joes are arriving on the back of the Transformers
It's
series.
funny. It's like when it's smaller, actually, I like it a little bit more. I like the top of it. It's got like a good like shape at the top of it. I just feel like there's a lot that's getting lost.
Well, because this is a double page splash that showcases the Joes on one end and Cobra on the other.
Sure.
But like it's not even that there's too many characters, because like you can't say that. I've read 1,000 issues of like Avengers and Justice League.
I have no problem with that. It's just there's a lot of detail in here, and I feel like I don't know if it's the choice of colors. It's just the palette, maybe it's just the color palette.
It's all very like it's all very homogenized,
feels flat, and like I'm just losing details. And I spent most of my time while you were talking about this book trying to understand like why these choices were made for some of them, especially like the further down on the cover.
No, it
but
reminds
I guess it doesn't matter. Like this book is not a book that's going to be sold off of its cover or not. If you're going to buy G.I. Joe, you're going to buy G.I. Joe.
100%. And I think if you were a Joe fan, you're going to love this. If you're not a Joe fan, but you were curious, it's an easy jump in. I don't like this cover at all. It looks like you put a bunch of action figures on the cover, which of course is what you like are going for, right? Like you want this to feel like you just have like an endless supply of Joe figures and you're putting them all in like this awesome sequence in your backyard. Like that's what they want you to think, or at least that's what they're thinking when they made it. This also carries over an interesting tradition where in the debut of the Transformers series, Daniel Warren Johnson had like a little like written letter in there where he's like, I love Transformers so much, and like here's what this book means to me and why. Williamson is the exact same thing in the end of this, where it's like here's what G.I. Joe means to me and why I'm hoping that you'll enjoy this. And it's like, that's cool.
I'm thrilled. I am happy for
But it's fun. I'll read more of this.
I do wonder. I'm like, so if there's like the G.I. Joe, is there like a Law and Order-esque like coin flip to this, where it's like, this is the G.I. Joe, this is like the action folks. Is there somewhere who wrote An American President? Aaron Sorkin. Is there an Aaron Sorkin like political group behind G.I. Joe, like walking and talking through government halls?
I mean, I hope so.
They are discussing what the Joes are doing.
Right.
There's like a part of my brain that wants to see that, but not really.
But only if it's Aaron Sorkin. Because really that...
Like, I guess I just want to know, like, does Aaron Sorkin's G.I. Joe treatment exist anywhere?
Not a single shot is fired. You know, no awesome action play sets are revealed.
This is like, these are welcome to bad ideas with Tiffany.
Honestly, I mean, like that's actually, you're hitting on something that has been a phenomenon in my brain since I was a little kid. No, because I think it is a good idea. Obviously, that's like why I don't have $1 million. But like, I have always wondered, like, you're dealing with movies, right, that cost $250 million or more. Why not just get everybody? Why not just get the best possible people to make it? And it's like, when it comes to making like a Transformers movie, like you don't care. Like when I'm saying you, I mean like the audience, but also the people making it. Like you don't care who makes this movie. Like get Aaron Sorkin. Don't you want to see? Not necessarily because I love Aaron Sorkin so much, but like, you know, like to get somebody who's, you know, I remember doing a seminar once for like movies, and this like screenwriter came in and he was talking about how they were developing the Monopoly movie in like the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. And they asked Mario Puzo, writer of The Godfather, to write the Monopoly movie. And he did. And there's a script out there for the Monopoly movie written by Mario Puzo. And I'm like, yeah, because like, why the hell not? Right? Like, hey, let's get Jack Nicholson to play the Joker.
Does that make the like Mr. Monopoly like?
I don't know what it's about. And he didn't tell anybody what it was about either, because he was like, give me my check and I'll tell you. But, you know, like, where like, oh, we got to make a Justice League, or we got to make a Superman movie. We'll get Steven Spielberg. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not, this ain't rocket science. It's entertainment.
Yeah.
Just get the best ones. You know, it's like that in like the 90s when they were like, hey, let's make a team of basketball players who are all great. Let's just get the best ones and put them all on one team and see what they can do. Anyway, how many more do you have left?
Just the other two.
Okay. Well, do your next one then.
No, it's just the two that we both read.
Oh, great. Well, then let's talk about Amazing Spider-Man number 61 from Joe Kelly and Ed McGuinness and Nico Henriken. The 8 Deaths of Spider-Man, new creative team, such that it is.
Yes.
And new direction.
Yes.
For Spider-Man. I want to address something right at the top. Some people have been complaining about how like there was this like Twitter creator who created a book called, or a pitch called Immortal Spider-Man, which showcases like Spider-Man who can't die or dies a lot. and they're like, they ripped them off. And I can tell you, I read it on Twitter, and no, it completely different. Like it's not even a little bit like Immortal Spider-Man versus the 8 Deaths of Spider. It's not even the same thing. Like, I'm sorry. Now, like, is Joe Kelly plugged in? Like, yeah, Joe Kelly used to have like a YouTube channel where he made shows like us,
Right?
And so yeah, he was definitely like he's plugged in. Like, but Joe Kelly's aware of what goes on Twitter, but
or not.
Joe Kelly's also like a really talented person who doesn't need to steal ideas from Twitter. And also, even if he were the kind of person who did that, he didn't in this case. It's a completely different book. Anyway,
that's like, well, I mean, that's one of those things where it's like someone gets that bad take on it, and then it just skyrockets or spirals out of control because people want to feed into that for some reason.
Exactly. Like,
I don't know why.
This wonderful artist who's done these incredible interpretive covers for every episode of Back Issues this entire year. Tenchi Art, check him out. But Tenchi has this cute strip on Twitter that has Laura and Ben Reilly shipping because they're two clones of two very popular iconic characters. Like, it's just a fun, cute fan piece that is available on Twitter. You can read it to your heart's content. But like the concept of how about two of the most popular Marvel characters clones meeting up, you know, that's up for grabs.
Yeah.
And just because Tenchi did that doesn't mean necessarily that, like, if they did that idea, it was completely and wholesale stolen from.
Right.
You know,
but I mean, if they wanted to, they could just.
Well, they should just print Tenchi's because it's really fun and cute.
Yeah.
And definitely worth reading. But anyway, 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. The other thing is clearly like Joe Kelly is doing like 8 issues.
Right.
Like, you could tell he's like, I'm not here for the long haul. Like, I'm not doing this book.
Right. Here, I've got a story.
But also I am doing the main Amazing Spider-Man series, so I have to make it connected. And so there's a lot in there. I actually saw quite a bit of criticism about like what's Peter Parker would or wouldn't say. I find that laughable because it is Joe Kelly after all. But like at the same time, there are some weird moments in here where I'm like, and this is all, you know, we're in Spider-Man territory now, so you're going to watch me just have a meltdown. But Ed McGuinness is not my Spider-Man artist. I think Ed McGuinness is a great artist, and I love some of the things he's done. His work on Red Hulk and the Hulk series in general is brilliant, and I love it. Works so well for me. Yes. And I love double-page splash of Ed McGuinness' Spider-Man swinging through the city. I'm down for that. Everything else, I'm out.
That's so funny because, like, when I was reading this, I was just like, this is what Spider-Man looks like.
Right.
Like, this is what a Spider-Man book, in my mind's eye, this is what it looks like, and I'm reading it.
Yeah, you know what that is? That is, I remember criticizing, like, post-weed addiction Kevin Smith movies to a friend of mine who is not a Kevin Smith fan. And I was like, yeah, that's not, like, the same. And she's like, the way you're describing the movies that he's made now, there is just no discernible difference between what I used to have to listen to and what I'm hearing about now. Like, I don't see a difference.
I do see.
And I'm like, with this case, this is, you're not like, you like Spider-Man because you like me, but you're like, this is as good as anything Spider-Man is. Like, I don't understand.
No, I don't think that. And I want to make a clear, like, delineation where this is.
It's like, you think Ed McGuinness is a, like, pretty standard Spider-Man artist. Like, that makes sense to you. Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, I think on paper, if I were Tom Brevoort, I'd be like, yeah, Ed McGuinness, right?
Well, I think that, I guess there's also part of my brain because it's like Ed McGuinness fits colorful costume character 100%. Really well, regardless of who it is. And so with Spider-Man, you know, you have this like brightly colored costume swinging around, and so like he makes sense for this choice.
Yeah.
But also I recognize the fact that there have been so many Spider-Man artists, and like many of the books you like that we have shared or that I have read have very different stylized art to it.
Yeah.
But like I was thinking, like when you were like talking about this, because I hadn't read it when we first talked, I was like, whoa, dude, let me read the book and have an opinion about it.
Yeah.
But like I was thinking much more stylized art was going to be in here. So when I saw it was just kind of like, and here's some comic book art. Like I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like I would have never opened this book up and thought Ed McGuinness. And I don't know why.
That's interesting.
Like I feel like I'm trying to think of something else that I know that Ed McGuinness has done.
Right. Well, I mean, like Ed McGuinness also drew a lot of Rec Rap.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, like, yeah, that makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, that I still don't
like
get
Ed McGuinness would be great on a Battletoads book.
Sure, but like I just don't get that. But like for me, this was like just like, here's
Yeah, I guess it's because you know what it is. Ed McGuinness can draw action sequences. He can draw fun, high-flying superheroes.
Sure.
But if you have two characters who are saying something really like somber or real,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I do not pick
No,
Ed McGuinness.
they're
And Peter
having-
Parker needs to have both those things
Yeah,
happening.
no, I understand that.
And that's where it is with this, where it's like there are sequences in here. I'm like, but I can't take it seriously. Like I can't take any of these things with any gravity because they're just like because they look like goofy cartoon characters.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I completely understand that. I mean, here's what's interesting about that, right? Like my exposure to Joe Kelly has been really through this like singular lens of one very specific book
and a very serious, or at the very least a very like grounded
tone, but the art itself very out there. And so for me, like Joe Kelly can accomplish serious, somber, solemn moments
100%
with art that is not your immediate thought of having that capability.
That's true, but that book is in black and white.
It is, but it's also like gives a little bit more like manga energy, which can be like over the top and like out there, but like he's able to rein it in somehow.
Yeah.
So like I am interested to see. So like I feel like this book is, I guess really what I should have said to you was not that I'm like, this is amazing art, because it's like it's fine. I mean, it does the
it's amazing
job.
that it's so consistent throughout the whole issue. Like it's amazing that this book came out without 16 different artists on it somehow.
It does the job, but like the art for this kind of falls back and like lets the story come through for me, which I don't know if that's good or bad when this is supposed to be like this like meeting of two mediums, like writing and art come together to tell the story. But for me, the story was really carried on the shoulders of the story, of the actual words.
Well, what'd you think? Like, how'd you think about this direction for Peter / Doom / Doc?
Yeah, like I actually enjoyed it because I know you were telling me, you were warning me, you're like, there's a lot of Spider-Man stuff at the beginning, and I was like, you don't have to worry me about this. I know what I'm getting into.
If you're buying an Amazing Spider-Man issue, you're gonna get some Spider-Man.
Right, and obviously this is the first issue he's writing in this story arc, so like he's gonna want to get some Spider-Man in there. But I also kind of felt like Kelly was just like,
what is this?
I'm acknowledging that this is where Peter is, but like let's just put that.
But let's put that right over there. Yeah,
over there.
But and also, like, we can't help ourselves. Like there, you know, we got Randy, his roommate. Like, we got Spider Boy in here, and I guess he's training him. Like, I can imagine Kelly being like, "So, does anybody want to tell me like what's going on with the Spider Boy character? Like, is he a sidekick? Are they training? Like, what is it? Oh, sometimes, but he's got a real chip on his shoulder because Peter doesn't acknowledge he's from the same reality." What?
Maybe Joe played the Spider-Man game, so he's just like, well, he trained Miles in those games.
Yeah, so that sounds good. Yeah, he's doing a cute thing. Okay, but he doesn't want. But I don't want him in this book, so he's gonna show up and then leave. Okay, cool. But then there's the Aunt May of it all, where she shows up. It just puts a hat on all my problems.
Oh no, I will say, like, by the end of this, I'm wondering if that will be proven to be intentional. Because obviously the beginning of this is just like, oh no, it's the classic like Peter Parker can't succeed if Spider-Man is like, you know what I mean?
Up,
like, like they're doing the ups and downs, right? Like Peter's trying to like manage that, and by the end of it, it like everything is put into perspective for Peter.
Right? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's like, oh man, I'm such a loser, and Aunt May's like, yeah, you're a big loser, and then he dies, and he's ripped apart and then put back together, and he's like, which is why I'm like, Ed McGuinness was your pick for this, where it's like,
and maybe that was an intentional decision choice, because they're like, Joe Kelly is going to take this darker places, and they didn't maybe editorial
was like, that's too dark.
We got to make sure that
because the last thing that Joe Kelly did on Spider-Man was with Bocciolo.
Yeah. I'd be okay with that.
I know you and like two other people would be okay with that. Like, but because I was surprised to find that like Bocciolo's a divisive artist. Like people were like, "Oh no, Bocciolo's doing something, boo!" And I'm like, "No, it's awesome. It's just also like, I mean, it's a very acquired taste."
But that happens with hyper stylized artists, which is fine because 9 times out of 10 that means you talk about them more.
Yeah,
so,
You know, but nobody talks about non-sub Spider-Man.
Well,
but anyway, so yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just like I could imagine that maybe they weren't going to go for like a Juan Ferreira if they're like on the main Spider-Man title, where they're like, well, we got to make sure that like people like there's clearly the mindset of like broad appeal.
Yeah.
But Joe Kelly's like, I'm not going to tone this down. I'm going to do what I want to do. So like, whoever you think should draw it, fine.
Whoever you got on the docket, I don't care, as long as it's the same guy. Please don't make it like 4 different artists on this one book, because it's really annoying.
We have no idea. We have actually no idea.
We have no insight.
There's no insight here. This is just us, you know, shooting some webs.
Yep.
in order to, carry on a conversation about whether or not McGinnis is the right artist for this book.
Yeah.
But no, like I actually very much like the tone of this. I do think it's like an interesting like use of Doom.
Yeah.
And Doom choosing Peter specifically. Obviously, it's because this is the Spider-Man
Yeah.
book. But I do like to think it's unfortunately because Peter has had experience with Spidey. But I'm like, why couldn't Doc have done it still?
Yeah. Yeah. Couldn't Doc still just do it?
Which I'm guessing is actually very much a Doom. It's like, regardless of if Doom thinks that Doc was the right choice, he's just like,
I'm not asking him.
I'm
I'm
not
not
gonna
asking
ask
him
him
for favors.
I'm not gonna ask him to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
gonna tell him to do it.
And Doom, there's a continuity of Doom just bombing in on a Spider-Man book and then inserting himself in the story, and Peter being kind of like overwhelmed / dwarfed by Doom.
Yeah.
And I love that. And it's very in keeping with any, like if you read any story, whether it's Babylon 5 Creative Chamber by Michael Straczynski or what's his name? David Michelinie.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different stories where like Doom shows up and Peter's like, oh man.
Yeah.
Now I got to deal with this.
Right. But like to think of him as like mystically tethered, I find that to be interesting because for me, some of my favorite stuff with Spider-Man has been when he like when they
approach that concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like again, like I always think of Peter as having a very scientific mind.
He does. He's like Batman when it comes to magic. He's like, oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate Kelly at least trying to, I guess, like address what is currently happening for Spider-Man or within the Spider-Man. Like
it could also just be an olive branch. Like I could see the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man being in Kelly's docs for the last 15, 20 years.
Oh, sure.
And he's like, all right, so it opens with whatever the hell's happening right now. Now, anyway, getting back to the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man.
Right.
Because like obviously it could have been that Doctor Strange could have asked Peter to do this because he's indisposed. But because Doom is currently Sorcerer Supreme, like, okay, so Doom does it. And actually that allows for more fun, drama.
There's like no way Doc would ask him to do this. And that's why
Strange has asked Peter to do other things.
Yeah, maybe it wouldn't have been quite as extreme.
It would not.
But I assume too that since there seems to be a very heavy hand when it comes to the control of this specific title.
Yes.
By the editor, that they were like, well, like it's got a sexy hook.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's gonna die 8 times.
I don't know about you, but that does not like appeal to me. Not that I don't dig the title. I think it's a great name for a story arc. I think it's a fine pitch.
Yeah.
But like that's not enough to get me to buy a book. Like, oh, he's gonna die 8 times.
Right, but like
not 13 times.
They could
like who cares? Like after 1, it's meaningless. Except for the fact that like clearly he's going to be like really, really tired by like the 6th one.
I was gonna say I think there's gonna be a caveat here, right? Because like it's very specifically mentioned that Doom gives him like 8 reads.
Yes.
And I'm like, something's gonna happen.
Oh yeah. Who's gonna use it on someone else?
Yeah, or like, oh, actually you have to fight like another person. You know what I mean? Like
no, I think someone else will die during his fight and he'll give it to somebody else.
Sure.
And then he'll be like, oh no, now I have to figure out how to beat this guy without dying.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think of the suit?
Oh, I think it's a great Marvel Legends fit. I mean, a really good looking comic book suit. It's fine. I have no problem with it.
I think it's interesting because it reminds me, of course, of the Cloak of Levitation, but it also kind of reminds me of Wiccan.
Yeah.
So like, it's taking a Spider-Man suit and making it magical.
Yes. It's a magical Spidey suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. It looks fine.
That's fun.
Yeah, Spider-Man getting new suits is nothing new to me.
No, it's not.
I'm like, okay, cool. It looks nice. It essentially looks like the spider armor with a cape on it, which like, yeah, do that.
I think it's also funny that they're going with this, especially since, like you said, it seems to indicate that Joe Kelly's only going to be here for this long because it's like a stay of execution to pick out the next.
Oh yeah, the next sucker who wants to get yelled at by people on the internet for the next like however long he wants to write the book for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I appreciate because like with Doom, you never have to question if it's just like, well, Doom doesn't think he could do it. It's just like no, when Doom picks someone else, it's because he literally is just like, this is beneath me, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Like you never have to question. It's like, oh, do you think that he thinks that he can't actually do it? And I'm like, no.
Who cares?
No.
Yeah, I love it. I like Doctor Strange showing up too because Doctor Strange for me is always like he is a fun regular in the Spider-Man.
I agree.
Comics.
Nowadays. I agree. Yep.
I like him just popping in, being like, "Hey, Pete, sorry about this. It's gonna be really rough for you."
Yeah.
You have no idea how bad
Yeah.
this is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
that's
So,
cool. So yeah, the Doc will be in it throughout.
Yeah.
So and he'll also be there when he's like, "Don't use a read on somebody else, you'll die." I'm like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's Doc for you, 100%.
Oh no!
Right.
Yeah, I'm
But
down.
like Kelly paying attention to the fact that like you know, he's not Sorcerer Supreme, so it's like he also has like
Yeah, he
the
doesn't have all the stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, no. In fact, just to save time and effort, he's got the cloak. He's got astral projection going on. Like,
Yeah, I mean he can still do magic.
oh
Just
yeah,
because
no,
he's not
just,
Sorcerer Supreme
but I don't
doesn't
have to
mean he
show him. I can just show him like kind of like, you know, in his
Yeah.
astral form.
Yeah, he's
so
like,
I don't have
"Hi,
to
here
worry
I
about
am."
the colors. Because I saw him recently in another book, and he's using like the blue cape. Because
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, no, in the last Doctor Strange, that's what he was doing because that's
like,
what remember that's what the other Doctor Strange, the like temporary one, was doing.
the one
and
from the
so-
past.
Yeah, so he just threw that on. He's like, "Here I am."
Yeah, I mean it's a great look. I love the blue cape.
Yeah, actually, now is a really great time for there to be a Doctor Strange miniseries, like where Doc is doing other things in order to try to patch holes for Doom.
Yeah, like Doom's
doing his thing, but like clearly he's letting things slip through the cracks.
because he thinks he's too good for them.
Right. It's things that like he would not pay attention to because they don't really matter, but they matter to someone.
Yeah. Would you? I mean, I know the answer before I ask it, but I mean, like Joe Kelly doing a Doctor Strange run.
Yeah.
Right? Like, come on.
I'd be in for that. Absolutely.
And finally, we both read Absolute Batman #2, aka Batman AF. Nick Dragata and Scott Snyder. Of course, I chatted with Scott about this book in particular and all the different specifics on our interview, which you can check out on this channel. It's actually like right next to it. It's next to this video on this channel. Like the video, subscribe to our channel, click the bell for notifications.
All those things.
But yeah, Absolute Batman #2, second issue of this like runaway success of a series. Now we are privy to the entire Trinity. We've gotten the first issues of Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and now we're in the second issue of Batman.
Yep, here we go.
Still hitting the ground running. I want to clear up a couple things. Kelly Thompson was on this show, or at least one of our shows recently, where we chatted a little bit. In her Absolute Wonder Woman book, it says part 1 of 5. People took that to mean that it was a 5-issue miniseries, which is not true. It's not. It's an ongoing series as far as she's concerned. Same with Batman. In fact, her reason for doing that or choosing to do that was because in Absolute Batman, it said Batman, the Zoo, part 1 through 5. People are like, is this a 5-issue miniseries? No, it's just telling you ahead of time how many parts this series is going to have. And I think the only reason why people are even like confused is because it's the debut.
Right. But that's so funny to me that like at this point people don't know like how like
they still don't know how to read the media.
Yeah.
It's
but admittedly, with how many books are canceled or changed in length, I also understand questioning it.
Absolutely. Yeah. But for the record, as far as any of these creative teams are concerned, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are all ongoing series. Dragata, I think, nailed it. The art is really, really strong in this issue. I know there were a couple of qualms you had that I want you to address, but I will say on the off the jump, there's a beautiful sequence, a double-page sequence of a bat like climbing on Bruce that I was like, this is amazing. It was actually the cover of the Snyder interview before I realized no one's going to click on it, so I changed it. But it was a really, really strong double-page splash. A lot of Dragata's art, which I have previously not enjoyed. I really responded to the Batmobile debut, the Selena Kyle debut. There's a lot of beautiful sequences in this issue, and panel to panel, a lot of action sequences that are fun. I think it's a very strong looking book.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I agree.
Yeah,
but
overall, you agree?
Overall, I definitely agree. I did notice a few of the Dragata faces showing up.
Oh yeah,
in this,
it's going to happen as the deadlines get tighter.
Yeah,
and that was my problem when he was announced.
So funny to me because they're like often surrounded by these other like really well like
rendered
like faces.
Yeah,
just like it seems to be like if you're younger, you're going to get a wonky face sometimes.
Oh yeah,
if you're older, great.
He's going to be fine.
My actual issue is with a sequence at the beginning, which just could have been me. I don't know. It just took me a little bit longer than I feel like it should have for the art to explain what was going on. And it has nothing to do with the bats or them crawling on Bruce or anything like that. But they're in the cave, right?
Well, the exhibit.
They're in the exhibit. Well, it's a cave.
It is a cave, but it's not. When you say we're talking about Batman and they're in the cave, it's not the Bat Cave.
They're in the exhibit. Doors closed. Obviously, there's bullet holes and stuff. This bat is crawling towards Bruce, and then we see this window, and it's like this breaking, but there's seemingly like all this light.
Yes.
right?
It's like, where are they coming from?
Right, and that was really what my issue was, because it also kind of looked like the bats are flying out.
Yes.
Like, not in.
No.
Like, they look like they're flying out, and I realized I read through it, and I was like, okay. And then I moved on, and when I got to more of the like sequence later on when Gordon's talking with Martha,
Mm-hmm.
I was like reticent to say that name. Um, but I was like, I'm gonna go back.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back and I'll look at this again. So I went back and I looked at it again, and I was like, I guess what we're looking at here is that within the exhibit, there is like a glass exhibit.
Right.
Right. I've been to many a zoo. And you know, you go into certain places, like even like there's the New Jersey Zoo, the Turtleback Zoo,
Yeah.
and you go into like the reptile house,
Right.
and within that space there's like smaller exhibits with glass, and I have to assume that's where the bats were coming from, was out of there. Like the window had been shot, and now the bats are able to come out from that.
Right.
But it took me so long that like instead of me just enjoying the power of the art, because like I started thinking about it.
Yeah.
And I wanted to understand, because it's like, obviously when you're dealing with the standard origin where it's just like the bat flies through the window or he's in a cave or whatever, it's like you get where they're coming from. But I'm like,
yeah,
where are these?
Where are they in
very
space?
Distinct location to make
Mhm.
this work. Where are they coming from? How is
Yes.
this working? Are they flying in or are they flying out? But yeah, obviously they were flying in, but it just did not fall into place.
Yeah.
And I don't want stuff like that to end up taking away from the book for me.
Sure.
But like the art is making such a statement.
Yes.
That like I feel like I should be able to utilize it and read and get the initial like got it moving on.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'm not saying that Dragota's not a good artist at all. Like I really like a lot of what I'm seeing in this book. I really love his depiction of Gordon. I think it's really well done. And I was just so like oh man, but like
yeah,
I got
and Scott
it.
are the same page about Jim.
Yeah, so like for me, Jim is a constant throughout the universes. He's an older guy.
He's a dad you want.
He's the dad you want. He's got a big white bushy mustache, and he wants to do everything right. And he's doing. I'm like
a secret badass.
It's just see, there he is. Yep. Hey, it's me.
Yep.
Just want to give him a hug and tell him it's okay.
Exactly.
And have him tell you he's proud of you.
That's all you want.
All I want from Jim Gordon, it turns out,
is his respect.
Yes.
But yeah, it's there's a couple of fantastic sequences. Him fighting the whatever's the party animals.
Yep.
The Batman getting assistance from Alfred and then having that assistance pulled and then seeing what is resulting in that afterwards, and the building of whether Batman will knowingly retreat or whether he will advance forward until Batman blows up one of the buildings in the shape of a Batman silhouette, and he becomes Batman AF, which if you checked out our conversation with Scott is reverse engineered. Dragota wanted to have a Batman AF moment. He was like, we got to get a moment in there where he's just Batman as fuck, and it's like I appreciate that like there is just this raw energy and spirit of just making cool things, and that appealed to Scott because Scott wrote 2 massive events that were all just about like and I appreciate that like they are coming A from the artist and B sparingly.
I really didn't care for that moment, and it's only because of the fact that for me it felt so like you could feel
engineered.
Yeah, you could feel Scott figuring it out.
Yeah, like how do I reverse engineer Batman AF? Advance forward. Yes.
Yeah. I was like, okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah. For me, I'm like, I almost like there's so many moments in comics now where I'm like, less is more, pull back. The Batman AF moment is one of those moments where I think if there had been no dialogue or no narration, it would have been stronger. But also you need those moments. Like I don't, it's not for me.
Oh, I understand that.
That's
like,
a moment for the new generation. People are already like foaming at the mouth about how awesome it is, and I appreciate that, but that's for them. And it's like, you need that extra bit. Like
But that's the thing, right? Because that means that what you're saying is that like good comics need to have a sensational moment for them to catch.
No, catching comics need a moment.
Sure.
And while there are brilliant comics that do none of those things, that are timeless and beloved, they are timeless and beloved by a select few, and they do not get the chance to live long enough to last.
I understand that.
You
but
need these, Batman. If Absolute Batman didn't do these things,
yeah.
it would be a 5-issue miniseries.
Oh, I completely understand. And like, I am not saying this needs to be anything else but what it is, because it is what it is.
Yeah.
But what I am saying was that like that out of everything I've seen,
there's a lot of cooler moments.
There are a lot of cooler moments. There are a lot of like everything about this iteration of Batman is over the top and big and bombastic
from his design,
and
to
it
everything.
will happen. And like, I'll be like, oh my, all right, here we go.
Yes.
But this one, I was just like, it was so not natural.
Yeah.
And that's really where I think my critique is.
Yes.
Is that like you could literally feel Scott going like, that's where I need to be, and I will get there.
Set it up on page 4. Like,
there. Okay. Got it.
Absolutely. No, like the moment when the Batmobile is revealed was, I think, a more earnest and equally bombastic moment.
Literally the moment of the building being blown up in the shape of a bat. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or Batman, sorry.
Yes, in the shape of his own face.
Of his own face. Or when Gordon realizes that like the map, his like
is
location.
His logo.
Yeah.
That I was like, that moment I was like, no.
I was like, whatever. Like, all right. Yeah, that's like a little critique of like Scott. I like that's all like that was like I took it all with a grain of salt. I was like, if that is what this character is.
Mm-hmm.
But the AF moment for me, I was just like, yeah, you really worked for that to work.
Yeah, and there's one for you.
You really, really wanted that to work. Okay. Got it.
But it's but Absolute Batman, I think it's working. Overall, the book is working.
No, it is working. I just was like, I don't know, maybe I would have taken another shot at making that one.
That's the thing, though.
Flow.
Younger Scott, New 52 Scott would never have done that.
Yeah.
And that's not a criticism of Scott. That's like showing you where he is, where he's like, I know what will work, what will catch, and what is like maybe even against his own nature.
Yeah.
He's like, this is something that I would never do, or something that I would never do naturally myself. That's why I came from Jurata.
Sure.
But I understand that there is a place for it, and that the audience will respond to it.
Yeah.
And he's just like that. And that's a good sign, because he's directing the line, whether he wants to admit it or not.
Sure. Sure. No, and I do think that, we have seen Scott do some other things where it's like he clearly was finding a way to make that happen.
There's a lot of those.
But 9 times out of 10, when it's his own stuff, I don't know, it's like he works better within his own.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, you mean like his dungeon book or whatever, like where he's just like, I'm doing something for me, like his Clear or his
I was just
Nocterra.
even thinking like if he decides he needs to have a moment in like a Batman book in particular, he's like, this is the thing I want to see.
Yes.
That like, because he's writing his own thoughts out, that like it will end up naturally kind of like weaving its way in. But when you take someone else's thought and try to weave it into your own work, that's when you can like I could just feel it.
Yeah.
I could feel it.
Yeah. That's fair.
And admittedly, I'm not gonna lie, I actually didn't get a chance to watch the Scott Snyder interview, so I didn't know.
You didn't know that how it was reverse engineered, but you felt like it was.
Literally that. That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't know that it came from another person and that Scott made that work, and I could feel it when reading it. So I'm like, because we didn't talk about that. Like, I was like, after I was like, what? Yeah. Yeah.
But overall, I mean, like
no, I like this book. I like, I like the fact that this is giving me like Marvel Ultimate now vibes, right? Where it's just like, I know these players.
Yep.
I have no idea what's going to happen.
No, that's the thing, is that like, that is a tightrope that he is consistently walking. Obviously, we're really giving flowers to this book that only has 2 issues, but I'm seeing a lot, not a lot of criticism, but I'm seeing a lot of allusions and references to like Dark Knight Returns, to Year One, to 0 Year, to all this stuff. Like and it really is like a distillation of everything that Scott's done with Batman, but also being this like firmly established new thing.
Sure.
And playing with the conventions, your expectations of what Batman is. Like, this is I would almost argue that like maybe this Scott could pull off a 0 Year better than he did when he started, even though he's incredibly proud of his original run on 0 Year. Like, he's really, really proud of that run. And so I appreciate that. But like, this is a seasoned creator who's like been there, done that now. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. So he's able to kind of like jump those hurdles with ease, and I think even his own surprising ease.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a good book, and it continues to firmly establish the expectations and like world of absolute Batman.
Yep.
While also not stepping on the toes nor trying to connect to any way Wonder Woman to Superman, Flash,
Right.
Martian Manhunter, Green Lantern, which I heard pitches for. They're all in the Scott Snyder interview, by the way. If you want to know what Absolute Lantern's all about, check that out, because Al Ewing is doing some crazy crap with that Green Lantern book.
Okay.
Similarly, you know, the Jeff Lemire Flash book, where like there is no legacy, there are no other Flashes. Wally West is the first and only Flash in this universe.
Right.
That's a really cool concept as well.
Do we want to talk about Terminator #2, or should we wait because people couldn't actually get a hold of their physical copies?
Well, I know.
I'm conflicted because
it's true.
That is the book of the week.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, Terminator #2 came out. I wrote the backup for this series, and I will continue to have 2 pages of my story come out for the next few issues. If you would like to get yourself a copy, I should point out that final order cutoff for issue 3 is today.
Oh, wow.
So this is the last day you can pre-order issue 3, but I think if you are a long-standing viewer of this show or of this channel and you follow me in any way, you know that I've written a 10-page backup, and they've taken 2 pages per issue or per story. Like, they've taken my 10 pages and they take 2 pages out of that 10 pages and add it into the end of every issue for the next 5 issues.
Yes.
So you can read all 10 pages across 5 issues. So if you want to get your copy of Terminator with my backup in it, you need to just tell your comic book store, I want the first 5 issues of Terminator.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't even need to worry about final order cutoff for issue 3, which is today. When final order cutoff, by the way, this is the last day you can pre-order the 3rd issue of Terminator. But
and you should.
It means that it doesn't mean your store won't have a copy. It means you're guaranteed a copy.
Yes.
When it comes out.
So
in
even
your store.
if you didn't pre-order, or like if you don't pre-order the book, still go try to get it.
Yeah, definitely.
Although there was a shipping error.
There was a shipping error this past week where no Dynamite books came out in the continental United States. And so that included Terminator #2. Though I did find out that like whatever few of our viewers over in like Ireland, England, etc. got their books
Hooray!
because Diamond is not the distributor out in the world outside of the United States. But yeah, the reality is the best way to do it, and I can keep reminding you, and I will for the next like 3 issues, but is to just say to your local comic book store, hey, I want the first 5 issues of Terminator, or up to issue 5 of Terminator.
So will they be out this week?
The 2nd issue should be out this week.
Okay, so if you didn't get a chance to get it, obviously you didn't, go to your comic book store and see if they have it this week.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, Wednesday.
Yep.
I thought today was Tuesday. We don't.
Right.
Do this
No.
We don't do this show on Tuesday, but my brain said it was.
Yeah.
So go and check out and get your issue of Terminator 2.
Terminator #2,
which is the book of the week. We're not going to tell you what happens in it. Someone should go get it.
Yeah. But I will say, I saw some interesting. Like, there were some reviews out because Dynamite still released review copies, and I saw a really fair but also incredibly negative review of the backup, where they were just like, it's pages 3 and 4 of a 10-page story.
Yeah. I
don't know what's happening. I can't acclimate myself. They also didn't like the fact that like those 2 pages kind of like explain what's happening, and I was like, that's fair. Like they explain the premise. Like people really dug the redundancy explanation, or the redundancy appearance. Pages 3 and 4 explain why or how, and they were like, you don't need that. And I was like, all right, fair enough. Like, I guess that's true. But I feel like you did, because it will thematically matter throughout the next few pages. But like, I was always concerned that a 10-page backup broken up 2 pages at a time
would be
across 5 issues is a hard premise, is a tough sell, and is going to confuse people the further into the 10 pages we get.
Yeah, that's fair.
And all I can say is I'm writing a comic book, and I don't care. Like, I don't care because this is the method by which my name can be on the first 5 issues of a Terminator series.
Yep.
But also, I understand the frustration. I would be frustrated as a reader.
Yeah, no, I completely understand.
When the and by the way, a completely fair review.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I get it. And you know what? If I were ever to get more opportunities, there will be more and harsher reviews to come. and there's nothing you can do about that. We're doing a review show right now.
Yeah.
I've said some pretty harsh shit to some really celebrated creators, and it would only be fair for me to take my lumps as well. But I'm also acknowledging the fact that that was a point I had not considered, or at the very least I didn't have time to consider, where I'm like, we need to explain what this is. I feel like we need to explain it.
Yeah.
But also I was like, I need to make sure, because I realized shortly into having finished the first 10 pages, there's so little narration and dialogue. I was very measured about that. I was like, I don't want to over explain. I don't want to fill it.
You're known for
being very verbose. Yes. But also I was like, I need to make sure this is as professional as it can be. And I was this is a smart approach. This is really this is a I need to make sure this is at the very least I need to trust my collaborator, Colin Craker, who's doing a great job.
Yeah.
I did, I read issue 2 and I got to see this is the first time I've actually seen pages 3 and 4, or 2 and 3, 3 and 4.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything. I've seen Colin was awesome. He thumbnailed the entire 10 pages.
Yes, you've seen that.
I've seen what it's going to look like, but I haven't seen them completed.
Sure.
And they look great. I was like, nice. I was like, oh no.
Hooray.
And Colin put an Easter egg in the Terminator vision in this issue. So if you go to if you pick up your issue of Terminator number 2 and you go to my backup, there is an Easter egg in binary. So if you take the Terminator vision, you actually will get a secret message.
Oh,
so
I love it.
Keep that in mind.
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. I saw him say it on social media, and I was like, "Hey, Colin, what?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "By the way, sorry for all the Terminator vision, because I put a lot of that in there." But anyway, yeah. So let's talk about some books that are coming out this week.
What's your book of the week?
My book of the week, I think I gotta give it to Batman, Absolute Batman number 2.
Well, it's either Terminator or Helen of Windhorn.
Yeah.
Even though you
didn't read it,
Helen of Windhorn and Terminator 2 didn't come out yet.
Yeah.
Terminator issue 2.
So that's tough.
It's too bad.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going with. I don't feel good.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're back.
Are we gonna do
super chats?
Yeah, those.
Yeah, let's do some super chats, and then we'll recommend some books that are coming out this week. A Secret Boss, because of U.S. daylight savings time, I used to watch the live before work here in Japan. I'm just going to watch it archived. Thank you very much for being here, man.
Wow, I didn't know you were over in Japan.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah. Matt Fisher, any chance of doing a certain Mageddon story for the story on the couch that's ungrammatical? I guess, maybe. Probably. I don't understand the reference.
It's Fantastic Four based.
Well, I assume, but someday, yeah, do all kinds of Fantastic Four stories. Ella Stevens, or Elias Stevens, just wanted to give a quick shout out to the Avengers Assemble miniseries. Really fun read that gives lesser known characters a chance in the spotlight, like Night Thrasher and my beloved Power Pack. Oh, good for Power Pack. Good for them. I like those characters. Samwise41. Hey, ComicPop, been watching since Conversions back issues. That was a long time ago. Got married on Friday and just wanted to say keep up the good work. Well, congratulations to you, Samwise. May your years together be blessed, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hulkzilla, happy Monday. Did you guys ever get around to watching Hellboy the Crooked Man? I watched it after reading the comics and it was based on and enjoyed it.
Oh my God, I completely forgot that came out.
Yeah, like most of Americans, we forgot that movie existed.
Oh my gosh, we gotta go back.
Yeah, we gotta check it out.
We gotta check it out.
We will. Cat Lawyer will defend for treats. Any chance of absolute number 1 on GBU? Not that there's a bad or ugly. I think that's a fun idea. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Yes, I love that idea.
The infamous Mike Manhattan. Did you hear that Zeb Wells signed up with Rick Remender's Giant Generator imprint, creator of Tin Can Society and Image? Also, have you seen Arcane? Haven't seen Arcane. Haven't heard of that.
We've watched one issue of it.
Yes.
Or one episode of it. And I did hear the Rick Remender thing. Or
no.
the Zeb Wells thing.
Nice.
I did.
Well, congratulations to him.
Right?
Yeah. Hope it works out. RK, I once picked up the Duke book at the library, thinking it was going to be a more standard war book. I was generally surprised, to say the least. Yeah, it's a good book. Tinfoil Tyrant, Excelsior, you too.
Yay.
Bryce Harriet, hi, I really love Ultimate X-Men. It's a fun corner of the world that's really playing with Peach's wonderfully creepy twist on the lore.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. 100%.
Cat Lawyer, I had pre-ordered Batman City of Madness, and the paper quality was so bad it ripped when I was turning a page. I don't know how or why this happened. This sucks. Well, you should tell your local comic book store and ask them what they should do. Perhaps they could return it. I would just simply ask. Sometimes it's an issue where it's like a bad printing. Sometimes it's just paper quality, but like, see what you can do. See if you can get a refund, because that sends a message. Darkside the Almighty, what are your thoughts on Hell and the Hell on Earth New 52 Superman event? Would it be a fun back issues episode? I didn't read a lot of New 52 Superman, so I have no opinions on it whatsoever, so I'll have to go back and check that out. There is an old New 52 Batman book I really want to cover that is not related to anything. And so that'd be interesting as well to revisit New 52 Superman in any way. Justin Guy with a mustache. Do you think Doom picked Spidey because he appreciates Peter's unbreakable spirit, or because this is step 786 of Doom's revenge plan? 876 of Doom's revenge plan he's been planning since Spidey first beat him. Right? I mean, like, I could imagine Doom being like, yeah, you embarrassed me in like one of your first issues of Amazing Spider-Man.
Eventually he's going to profit.
Yeah. I think it's probably that one. It certainly isn't his indomitable spirit. He doesn't care about Spider-Man. Girk Pectus, I played recent Arkham VR game. I didn't like that Gordon brutally beat a suspect who's secretly Batman. Do you think Gordon should always be a clean cop?
Yes.
Yes. That's a no-brainer.
I refuse to allow Gordon to have any sort of like growth or regression.
Yeah, I do. I don't mind him like kicking the shit out of Flash, but I also don't like him beating up on, typical Spider. Hey, Silent Tiff, I just read the fun DC Christmas book, Batman, Santa Claus, Silent Night.
That came out.
Good story. I love the backstory. For Santa, it also it's a semi-sequel to Night Terrors, which is cool. The DC Universe and Santa versus Monsters. Nice. That sounds great.
Wait, it's a sequel to that?
Evidently.
I thought that came out beforehand.
I don't know. Silent Night, the old. There's an old story from Neil Adams that's called Silent Night as well.
I was thinking the other one that was more recent. Remember, I was reading it and I was like, "This is amazing."
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We should do that for
back issues. That'd be great. Yeah. Rubik's Cubist as Gen Z, the Batman AF bit was corny as hell. Aside from that, When's Wake Up with ComicPop coming back, that thing was awesome. Thanks, man. Yeah, I don't know, probably the 12th of Never, but we'll see what happens.
It was a great show.
It was a great idea, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Bear Farmer, after telling my friend about this issue, he said, quote, he's 2 seconds away from just saying Batman, 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 like Groot. And then I told him about the monster truck, and he just said, Jesus Christ. I mean, yeah, that's how people are going to react to like things, secondhand. But also, It's a dope looking book. It's a dope looking truck. I'm down for it. Carlitos Figueroa, hi guys, I'm a big fan of the show. Love Snyder's Court of Owls, and I'm looking forward to Absolute Batman coming out in trade paperback so I can binge read it. There you go. Oh,
I forgot about the truck. There's so many things that happen in that book. I mean, like the poker game, all of it.
Oh yeah, the poker game and the kids and all the like his bat friends and Martha and her connection with Gordon and Frank Martin's amazing colors and how that complements the work in such a phenomenal way.
So much. There's just a lot.
That's why it's my book of the week.
Okay.
Matt Fisher, is it possible to fix Tim Drake? It's always possible. But just like there's always an opportunity for Spider-Man to be a great reading book, Tim Drake can always be fixed. There's nothing really broken about him. Just give him good stories. That's all you need.
Let him do something.
Yeah, let him do something of consequence. And I think honestly that like the pitch is just make him Mr. Terrific sidekick. Like just divorce him, just get him away from the Batman family.
I love that.
Mageddon is Morrison's JLA from Matt Fisher. Okay, yeah, I will eventually do something.
I really took the ungrammatical thing to be. I immediately made that.
He's definitely making a Fantastic Four cartoon reference.
Well, thank you. So much for just making that something that lives in my brain now. Sound.
Yeah, you're welcome. As far as books that are coming out this week, that is to say in 2 days, Ultimate Spider-Man number 11. Hooray!
Yes.
I think finally Ultimate Black Cat will be appearing. That's going to be fun. Batman Superman World's Finest number 33, fantastic series, definitely worth checking out. We did a back issues in the first volume, and it was such a fun episode. Definitely go check that out. Wonder Woman 15 is dropping. Hooray! Great series, interesting stuff. I'm gonna try Wolverine 3. I read the second one. He fights a Wendigo in that one. That was cool. I'll try that out.
Okay.
Batman and Robin, Year 1, number 2, Wade and Somni. That's a duh. Got to pick that one up, obviously. Storm number 2 is dropping.
That's right.
I really enjoyed that second issue, so I'll have to check that out as well. Yeah. Oh, Spider-Man Reign 2 number 5 is coming out, so that's really exciting.
It means I have to read that with you, I guess.
And Jenny Sparks number 4. We'll see how this goes. I don't know, man.
Okay.
I'll see the new issue of Mousetown, but I'm not reading that.
I'm going to be grabbing Moon Knight Fist of Khonshu #2, Batman Full Moon #2. Love
Yes.
that Black Label book. Werewolves. I'm also gonna probably grab. I'm not reading any of Venom War, but I'll probably read Venom War. It's Jeff #1. I thought there was something else down
There
here.
is.
I
It's
know.
up.
I know. I saw
Oh,
that.
okay,
Give me a
all right.
second, man. Jeez.
All right, Jesus.
Jeez.
Yeah, no, jeez, you. Jeez. Yeah.
I thought there was something else I wanted to mention, and I don't know. Now I can't find it. It's over.
Oh, The Moon is Following Us #3 is dropping. You got to check that out as well.
Oh, I might look at the question all on the Watchtower #1.
Yeah.
Just to see.
Yeah.
I don't know. Power Fantasy #4 is also coming out this
Hooray.
week. Freaking love that book.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, Alex Segura doing a question book. Sounds fun.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Maybe I'll
Jeez.
read it. We'll see if I remember.
Jeez.
But yeah, we want to thank you so much for hanging out with us. Typical Spider says the story mentions the nightmare realm, and Batman talks about how the borders between realities was torn apart because of the event.
Oh, I did not remember that.
Nice.
It's like I forgot everything about the nightmare.
Well,
Night terrors.
You're not wrong.
I didn't even get the name
you're not
right.
alone. You didn't even get the name right. Tiffany also plays video games on twitch.tv/ComicPop and youtube.com @ComicPop Plays. It's the same stream, but simultaneously streamed on Twitch and YouTube, depending on your poison. So check that out. Tiffany and Danielle are playing Silent Hill. You're what, 25 hours into what is an 18-hour game?
No, I don't. Oh my god, it's just much longer. We're taking our time.
Yeah,
we're in the prison right now. Not my favorite place to be.
Well, few people do enjoy it there. But we want to thank you so much for sponsoring today's show, you super chatters out there. Thanks to the chat for being kind and cool and collected all of them there. And we want to thank everybody for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell for notifications. And of course, for pre-ordering Terminator, you alone are helping to keep that book up on lists and blowing the minds of supposed journalists who refuse to mention this channel or this creator in any way. Fine. So, that's fine. Whatever. Who cares? But we want to thank you so much. I want to thank you personally for your support of that book and of this fledgling career, such that it is. The opportunity is there. I will have always written a backup for Terminator. There's nothing they can do about that. Take that away from me. So, and that's all thanks to you. So thank you all for that support. And we'll see you guys next time here on youtube.com/ComicPop Returns for more Off the Rack and more videos here on this channel. And don't forget, on Wednesdays, we drop an episode of Back Issues on youtube.com/ComicPop. And as a quick added bonus, I should mention that I am the third host of a brand new show that is now 7 issues or episodes deep, called This Week in Nerd History, over on the YouTube channel Dorkly, which has about 2.9 million more subscribers than this channel has, but it is definitely worth checking out. Myself and Mike and AJ chatting about nerdy stuff over the week and from past, present, and future. So check out that show as well if you get a chance, because it's a fun show and it's worth catching. You get a very different version of me on that show. No comics, so it's a very interesting show, but something that I would never create here. Not because I don't like it, but just because I don't have, you've seen, we've done like 11 years of this channel / content. This is the stuff we make. So yeah, we'll see you guys later. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye.